Okay, welcome back. Last turn of Glory 2, 160th playthrough of Battle of Chancellorsville across the Rappahannock GMT games. So we're at the last turn, 12:15, and you can see here quite a bit of battling here in the center, just kind of pushing and shoving each other around with everything. Let me direct you first to the AMs. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit for you, so you can see these guys. So here are the AMs over here, and this was the draws, which is a little bit concerning when I started out here. We had the initiative being won by the Confederates, and of course Jackson went right at it. And then they pulled Jackson right again. So Jackson finished off its turn right away. Lee and Longstreet, followed by Union AM plus Lee Longstreet, Union AM. So it was basically Jackson attacking, trying to get that last victory hex. Union responding. So with that being said, let's move you over here, and I think you can kind of see what happened without too much direction from me. The real crux of the battle is right here in the center. And you can see Colston got half of Warren's brigade and Paxton's brigade to attack up through here. And they captured that one hex that they needed, plus one more for insurance. Now before that, Hill was a little bit strung out. We had quite a few disordered units back here. We had the first positioned up here for an attack, and really kind of strung out here. But what happened was on the first AM, the AP Hills units rearranged here a little bit and opened a seam here for Colston's units to come up and carry on the attack up through here. Colston also went forward and pushed back this way just for a little insurance against the road by the old schoolhouse here. And then Rhodes back here tried to push here, but surprisingly were hit with defensive fire on 2 units against here and here, and were stopped. So that was kind of the one downside to the turn, to the first activation of the turn. But their position right here is just to hold and block the 3rd Corps from doing any kind of backdoor recovery of units. It pretty much was going to be that way too, because trying to get around was going to be pretty much impossible, because they'd have to come around 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and they wouldn't been able to get around to get to these hexes. The artillery's around there as well. So this back door was kind of cut off before. The real crux, as I said, was over here. They pushed through on the first AM. Then the second AM came up, and that's where they went for the second hex up here and got it. Pushed back some of French's units over here and captured it. And then it was just becoming now that the Confederates basically formed a defensive line just to keep the Union from counterattacking. Over on the lee side of things here, as I said, with McLaws all the time, he stayed there. Anderson did try to continue his attack. It was brutal against Hazel Grove, and they just had to fall back over here. But you could see they're being pinched from behind, and if it's continued on, they'll be lost here, and the 3rd Corps would be separated from the rest of the main army up through there as well. So that's what happened to get us in position with the first 2 AMs and Longstreet. Then came the Union AM. So the first Union AM for the Army rolled, and there was 2 corps that were able to move. We had, let me just shift you up here a little bit more. We had the 2nd Corps strip some units off of here and pull some units over, and actually a French attack up here as well. First attack failed. That's these 2 units that were retreated over here. They failed going against Paxton. So they had to retreat off. Hancock had to shift some units up here as well. And then as part of the 2nd AM, Hancock and French teamed up to try to counterattack again against Paxton. You can see the result of that. That was a failure. And they were stopped right there. And that pretty much did it. At that point, the Confederates have a solid line over here. There's really not much more that either the 3rd, 12th, or 1st Corps could do. 1st Corps could try to push through here, but they're only going to gain 1 hex maybe. I mean, they could try over here as well, but that's pretty solid in the attack and the defense here, and it would require both Wadsworth and Robinson to team up to try to go after that hex. So it was pretty tough odds just to get this hex and not necessarily get into the road up there. And even then, that's only going to get them 1. They need to get 2 back because the Confederates captured 2 hexes over here as well. So we take it as a Confederate victory. I don't know if there's a degree of victory on here. Let me just see. Larger margin is greater victory. Victory points. Yeah, no, there's no margin of victory. It's just a victory for the Confederates with this as well. And a hard-fought one, too, to get as far as they did. Roughly about where they ended up at this particular point in time in the battle, from what I've read and saw about it. Roughly about the same positioning here. The 3rd Corps back here. Actually, let me zoom you out a bit. The 3rd Corps back here is a little bit more advanced than what it was. It was more concentrated back here, but I think that's a function of the game itself and the fact that we have much more information to use against the other side. So I thought my thoughts on the game is this. This is the first time I've actually played this particular scenario. I've played some of the smaller ones, but not the big one here. It was a good one here, I think, for the 160th playthrough. I'm happy to play it. I did like the way this was simulated in terms of the attack. It was very good in terms of setting it up, positioning. Of course, the glory system and the bigger brother, sister, whatever you want to call it. Great battles series. Great looking maps, great looking units. Hopefully quite visible, quite easy to see, read, and understand where the units are from your perspective, as the viewer. Certainly from my perspective as the player, it's very good. In terms of the mechanics, the glory system is very simple mechanics. It's a dice roll, and then checking the numbers against the chart. And if you hit, you do damage. If you don't, you don't. Very simple. That's it. So the mechanics, those mechanics are all very well and good. Now, when it came to this particular battle, I think the one downside I would say to this is the fact of using individual chits like these for the Union and having the dice roll. So hopefully you can see that. Let me bring it a little bit closer. You can see there's a 12th Corps and it's got 0 to 5. That dice roll. I found in the couple turns that I used this in the beginning, I found the Union had much more mobility than historically accurate. And hence why I just dropped back to just having 2 at the Army level and then rolling the dice and subtracting 2 for the number of corps that could move. That I found a little bit more realistic. I thought it better than the Hooker rule combined with the AMs over here. Just 2 AMs minus 2 number of corps that move at any one activation. So it kind of gives you a minimum movement, but at the same time it skews towards the lower end, meaning or simulating what Hooker was doing at the time. He was a defensive soldier at this point. He was in a defensive position, and then once he was surprised, he just had to stay there. He just had to kind of rally the men and try to form some sort of defensive line against Jackson's attack over here. So it kind of simulates that type of confusion, that type of loss of communication, and type of anxiety over an attack like this, and giving a little bit of an edge back to the Confederates so that they can push across here. Because certainly with the way that the combat in the Glory system is set up, as I just said before, it's very simplistic. It's you roll a dice, you compare, and you either have a loss or you don't. So it takes a little bit of time for it to develop. It's different than the Great Battle Series, where the Great Battle Series, you can have a lot of cascading effects within there. Within here, it's not as much. It's more immediate, catastrophic, or not. And then, of course, on the other end of the combat too, recovery is very good. You just need to roll below, equal to or below your cohesion. So for the Confederates, they recover fairly quickly. The Union does not, and hence the amount of losses that were engaged here, because pretty much the whole 11th Corps is down to next to nothing. You'll see a couple. There's one there. These two guys are 11th Corps as well. We see a few units left, but pretty much scattered as part of the battle. As well as others too. There was some First Corps casualties and Third Corps casualties, 12th Corps casualties as well. But it kind of definitely shows the battle, and I liked it with the modifications that I did over here. I would be interested to play it all the way through with just the 2 AMs for the Union to see if it's a little bit more skewed or not, within there. But as I said, I'm quite happy with this particular simulation. I hope you folks watching, just noticing the numbers, fairly decent for watching my AARs of these battles. And I appreciate you folks for watching. And as other people said, I don't say it all the time, but if you like it, just hit that like button here. That's nice. Leave any comments too. Feel free to comment. I try to catch up on the comments as quickly as I can within there. But if you appreciate these kind of playthroughs and battles, let me know, because I'll be continuing on. We'll do some more 160th anniversary series battles coming up here as well. As you can probably tell, I usually do it right around the anniversary date, as I did with Chancellorsville here, the beginning of the week there. And I appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for the next one. And not sure, won't be the Glory system, I'll tell you that. Not sure what's going to be the next one and what system I'll use, but you folks will be the first to know when I get it out there. So I appreciate everything, and thanks a lot for watching. Take care.